Nom Nom delivers fresh food with whole ingredients backed by veterinarian science. Science tells us that a dog's health starts in the bowl, so improving their diet is one of the best ways to help them live a long and happy life. Nom Nom's food is full of proteins your dog loves and the vitamins and nutrients they need to thrive. All you have to do is order, pour, and serve. Ready to make the switch to fresh? Order Nom Nom today. Go to https://trynom.com/curveball and get 50% off your first order plus free shipping. That's https://trynom.com/curveball. Plus, Nom Nom comes with a money-back guarantee. If your dog's tail isn't wagging within 30 days, Nom Nom will refund your first order. No fillers, no nonsense, just Nom Nom. Welcome to the Living the Dream podcast with Curveball. If you believe, you can achieve. Hello and welcome to another episode of Living the Dream with Curveball podcast, the show where I interview guests that teach, motivate, and inspire. Today, I am joined by author and personal trainer, Shawn Tegtmeier. Shawn has went through a lot of ups and downs in her life, a lot of health problems, but she has bounced back to run several marathons and ultra marathons in the past 15 years. She has written books, and she is here today to show you that it is never too late to take charge of your life, one step at a time. Shawn, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh my gosh, Curveball, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm super excited.
Why don't you start off by telling everybody a little bit about yourself?
Well, as you had said in the introduction, I've written a book. It was my memoir, and I am a personal trainer. It didn't quite start out that way. When I was 36, I suddenly came upon the realization that I smelled like a dirty ashtray, and I had been smoking for half of my life. So I started smoking, really smoking, when I was 18. And I was absolutely disgusted by the smell. It took me a while to quit, which I did through hypnosis of all things. And, I kind of thought, okay, I'm healthy. I'm not a smoker anymore. So that's all good. Well, within like 3 years, I managed to gain like 40 some pounds, of course, never realizing it. And, I ended up going to Weight Watchers to lose some weight. And I thought, okay, this is good. This is good. So I was losing weight and I hadn't been smoking. I had quit smoking. And, I have 2 boys. I was a soccer mom. I had a nice little job, sitting in an office, and wife, mother, soccer mom, employee trying to do the best she can. But I didn't really know who Shawn was at that point. I had never done any serious or non-serious form of exercise in my life. And Dad on my older son's soccer team had started this crazy thing called running. And my son was on a travel soccer team. And if anybody's ever been on a travel team of any sort, you kind of spend every weekend for a year or 2 or 3 with the same families traveling around. So everybody becomes, good friends. And Walt had started this running thing. And when you're a new runner, you really like to talk about it. And unless you're a runner, you really don't care. And I was really too polite to say, I don't really care about your running, Walt. So he would just kind of be talking to me all the time. And I would just smile and nod and go, oh, that's great. That's great. Well, I think it kind of planted seeds in my brain because I never ran, I mean, I think I tried cross country in 7th grade and that was an epic fail. And that was my whole career of any kind of sports. But I somehow thought maybe I could try running. So under the cover of darkness, I did try a little bit of running and found that I actually liked it. And as time went on, I kind of thought, well, maybe I should find out a little bit more about all this exercising, how to eat, how to drink, how to stretch. So I started taking classes at our local community college. And unbeknownst to me, I was taking classes that was like a group of classes that enabled you to get a certificate in fitness. And with taking all those classes, it also readied you for a national certification test, which I really had no intention of taking because why would I want to be a personal trainer when I was like 40 something, Well, anyway, long story short, I found that I really enjoyed all the classes. And I did end up becoming a personal trainer through all those classes. I started coaching runners, developing programs for people to run a 5K, their first 5K, their first half marathon. Through our local running store here, and Walt, along with a lot of other seasoned runners, I'll call them, because they'd been running much longer than I had. People were just kind of surprised. They said, oh my gosh, so you never really did any running before or any kind of encouragement or coaching? I'm like, no. And you used to smoke. I'm like, yeah, like it was my job, So they would say, gosh, you should really write a book. And I think that's Walt was the one that kept saying that. He's like, no, you just don't understand this. This is kind of really neat, that you've gone through all these changes. And so I used to joke around with them and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to write a book one of these days and it's going to be called Running with Walt because you're the one that inspired me and encouraged me to do this. And so then I did. I finally wrote the book Running with Walt, my memoir. I got so busy with my personal training that I had to quit my office job at the time. And so I just became a full-time personal trainer, a running coach. And in 2016, I had my manuscript ready to go. And I was supposed to go to downtown. I was supposed to go to Chicago. I live about 40, 50 miles northwest of Chicago for the Chicago Writer Association to kind of pitch your manuscript to different agents. And I had 3 or 4 agents picked out and I was like super excited about it. And I was diagnosed with multiple myeloma, which is bone marrow cancer. And that kind of wiped everything off because I was supposed to go in March and I was diagnosed in February. And then I had to do chemo and stem cell transplant and all that good stuff. So I really forgot about my manuscript really because I spent most of 16 trying to get my, get chemo done and all that stuff. And then in 2017, I was trying to get my new normal going. And because I don't, everybody has different chemo stories. I mean, chemo affects everybody so differently. Cancer affects everybody so differently. And I was just trying to get back on my feet and everything. And then I was feeling pretty good towards the end of the year. And I thought, oh, I should probably really kind of start looking at that manuscript again. Well, then in 2018, I came out of remission and I had to kind of start all over again with a whole new plan. So that was 2018. And towards the end of 18, when 19 was rolling around, I thought, I really need to get my book out there because 2020 is coming around and the way these years are going, So I did. I spent most of 2019. I was working with a consultant consultant named, her name is Martha Bullen. She's absolutely incredible. And she just kind of guided me and, pointed me toward different editors on who to choose for editors. And, I spent, basically most of the year rewriting and working with a lady, Dina. We did the book jacket design, and there's just so many things to work on. But that was 2019, and we published it in August of 2019 on Amazon, and it was like their bestseller new releases for the whole month. So that was good. So, and here I am today now, just chatting with you.
Well, you talked about how chemo and cancer is different for everybody. Tell us about your story of chemo and cancer and all that you went through.
With mine, I have what is called multiple myeloma, and it's bone marrow cancer. And it was very surprising that I had it. I really didn't have any indication. The only thing that I couldn't quite figure out was my breathing wasn't good. Now, I'd run several ultra marathons and marathons. I was just running all the time. Now, I'm not a fast runner, so but I enjoyed taking some cardio type classes. I was just, always doing something. And all of a sudden, I suddenly couldn't breathe anymore. Like my body would go, but I couldn't breathe. And I'd go to my doctor and they're like, yeah, let's try a little puffer thing. And, they gave me one of those asthma puffer things or whatever. And they said, oh, it's probably allergies or sinuses, because I was getting bloody noses as well. And it was really upsetting to me, like 2015, because I spent most of the year not being able to run to keep up with my friends and stuff. I felt like I was constantly having to walk. And like I said, I was going to the doctor and everything. So by the time 2016 rolled around in January, I decided to give blood because I wasn't running anything long distance. So I went to give blood and I failed the little test where they drop your blood in. And they said, oh, no, you don't have, you're anemic. I'm like, oh, all right. Well, they did it again and then again. And I knew there was kind of a problem when they came over and took a big binder out and they said, yeah, you're really low. You're going to have to go see your doctor. And I thought, go see my doctor. Can't I just take an iron pill or something? Well, I went and saw my doctor and she looked at it and she said, if your vitals weren't so good, I'd be sending you for a blood transfusion right now. And I said, oh my gosh, you're kidding. She said, no. So she ran some more tests and she called me and she said, we're out of my scope now. Now you need to go see a hematologist. I said, okay. So that's when I went and I met I call him my dear friend now because I see him all the time now. And that's Dr. Chunduri. He's my oncologist. And I really thank him for keeping me crossing finish lines. My first, I call it plan A, was I had to do like chemo shots and everything in order to get ready for the stem cell transplant. And then I was downtown Chicago in June of 16. I went down June 1st of 16 and I was there for 2 weeks, had the stem cell transplant. I've never been so sick in my life, I can honestly say. And you're kind of in an isolated ward because of germs and whatnot. And I got home and I could, like walking from the couch to the bed was just exhausting. And it took a couple months before I could really start walking again. And I slowly got back to it and everything. And it took a while before I could run again, and definitely not long distance. But through the year, and I had to stay on a chemo pill as maintenance. And then in 18, the pill stopped working, and the multiple myeloma came back. It came back out of remission. So I had to go on to a different plan where now I go and I sit in a chair now every 28 days, and I sit for about 4 hours, and I get a chemo drip. The initial part of that was I had to do it 10 weeks in a row. Every Friday I went for 10 weeks in a row. And then after that, it was the next 16 weeks. I went every other week. And I remember asking my doctor, I said, well, after I do that every other week, how many 28-day weeks are we going to be doing here? Is it like 4 of them, or, he said, no, as long as you're walking the planet, basically. So I have to do that and I take a chemo pill, 21 days on, 7 days off. And it's keeping me in remission, which is good. It makes me a little bit tired, but I am happy to say that last Tuesday, my dear friend Pam and I just did a 50 miler. It was a run walk, but I did complete 50 miles. So I just try. I'm just very thankful that I am able to continue to do this while still having treatments and stuff. And I honestly believe that, being diagnosed with being as healthy as I was is really part of that. So that's why I think it's so important for people to embrace exercise, fitness. You don't have to be a bodybuilder or an Olympic athlete or anything like that, but just some form of fitness where you're not just sitting on a couch. Because I think if I would have still been sitting on a couch smoking cigarettes, we wouldn't be having this conversation today.
So you do something called gasp running. Explain to everybody what that is and what that's like.
Oh, when I was gasping for running. Yeah. That's like normally, you just run, and I can usually run and talk, but I knew that there was a problem when I was like literally my air wasn't going into my lungs, which was horrible. Yeah. And that was just very, very scary. Very scary to me. Very scary.
Okay, I didn't realize. I thought it was a type of running. I didn't realize that's what you meant by it.
Yeah.
Tell us about, you made a career change from whatever you were doing to personal fitness trainer. What were you doing before you became a personal trainer, and what was it like to make the change?
I worked at our local book company, and I was customer service. I trained customer service people, not training like personal training, but like training them how to answer the phones and how to take returns back and all that good stuff. So I went from a very sedentary office job to kind of like the polar opposite, where before I was like on the computer all day, talking to people on the phone, talking to all the customer service people. So it was really, really different, because I was like 9 to 5. And as a trainer, I would start at 5 a.m. and work till maybe like 10 or 11, and then have a break during the day, and then go back around 3 and work till 7. So completely different.
Well, tell us about your marathons and ultra marathons that you ran. You ran a lot of them in the past 15 years. Are there any of them famous or marathons?
Oh, I've run Chicago twice. Let me grab my book here real quick because I can never remember. I mean, that sounds so silly, but I guess in the world that we live in, depending on what's, I've run Chicago twice. I've run Atlanta. The Marine Corps Marathon was probably like my favorite marathon. But let's see, between the years of 2005 and 2014, I crossed the finish line 34 times running 26.2 miles or longer. I've run 16 marathons and 18 ultras. Again, an ultra being anything longer than 26.2 miles. And actually, since then, when I wrote this, that was it. So I've done 2, 3, 4 or 5 more since then. Yeah.
Well, that's amazing.
And yeah, it sounds amazing, I guess. But I think when I have some other runner friends and they run like 100 miles and they've done so many, and I think, oh, that's really not so. But I guess other people it is, it's kind of fun. But it's just something I enjoy. And I think that's the whole key to fitness and everything, is doing something that you enjoy.
Well, tell us about, you kind of talked about your book, Running with Walt, but you also have another book that you're working on. So just kind of give a brief description of both books and tell the listeners where they can pick up your books.
Okay, Running with Walt is how a chain-smoking couch potato got off the couch. And that was the first book, and that was really pre-cancer. And then the second book I'm working on is called Running for Chunduri. And he is my oncologist. And in 2016, after I had my stem cell transplant in June, that October, I think 6 of my friends and I, we walked a 50K. It was the 10th year I was going to do that race because I'd always run it before. And I thought, I really want to do that race. And I actually managed to pull it off. We walked a 50K, which is 31 miles. And when I came across the finish line, the people at the finish line, they said, okay, we know we're supposed to really cheer when you're done, but we're really not sure why. And my hair was like, just teeny, like peach fuzz, but gray peach fuzz, chemo hair coming out, slowly coming out after being bald. And I said, oh, I had a stem cell transplant, back in June. And this is like my comeback. And they were like, oh my gosh. I said, yeah, it's thanks to my oncologist. And I said, hey, do you think I could get an extra medal for him? And they were like, no, but they're handing me a medal. So I brought him that medal. And I said, without you here, without you, I would not be here crossing finish lines. So I made like a vow to bring him a minimum of 1 medal a year. So that's what I do. That's what I'm doing, is keeping that promise to him and he's keeping me healthy. So he's racking up some medals there. So that's why I'm calling it Running for Chunduri, because I'm running to keep giving him medals because he keeps me crossing finish lines.
Absolutely. And it sounds like your dog is proud of him.
Too. I'm so sorry.
No problem. Tell us about any current or upcoming projects that you're working on that people need to know about.
Just the book, really, and doing podcasts with awesome people like yourself. And that's, gosh, I can't think of anything else really. Just like, I don't know. I'm just trying to be out there and encouraging people. I'm kind of excited. I have a new 5K group starting tomorrow at one of our local stores down here, the local running store that I work at. Yeah. So just all that kind of stuff. I try to blog here and there, but I haven't really had too much of a chance. I think everybody's been so crazy busy this summer, trying to get back into the groove with COVID. And I have a good amount of clients that are like, oh gosh, I've got the COVID-19. Help me. So yeah, that kind of stuff.
Well, throw out your contact information, any websites, social media links so people can stay connected with you.
Okay. It's my name, shawntegmeier.com. ShawnTegtmeier.com. They can also email me at the same name, shawntegmeier@gmail.com. And then I'm on Facebook too. Same name.
All right. Well, give us some final thoughts. Give people some tips on staying healthy and any final thoughts that you might have to close it out.
All I can say is it's never too late. People always think, well, I should have done this, 10 years ago. No, it's never too late. You just get out there and move. You don't have to be in competition with anyone. I always say all movement is good movement. And the most important thing is to find something that you really enjoy. Whether it's walking or running or doing like yoga or dancing or biking or canoeing or, there's just no end. There's just no end to what you can do besides sitting on a couch smoking cigarettes. True testament right here.
Ladies and gentlemen, shawn.tegtmeier.com. I'll have the website in the show notes. Please be sure to follow, rate, review, share this episode to as many people as possible. This episode could really encourage someone and help save their lives. Also, Android listeners, go to the Google Play Store and download the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast app. Shawn, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh my gosh, Curveball, thank you so much for inviting me.
For more information on the Living the Dream podcast, visit www.djcurveball.com. Until next time, stay focused on living the dream.